Okay, in the last video, I was talking about atheism and why I thought atheism plus and strong atheism was the same. And I said at the end that I was going to make a video on why saying that there is no God is kind of phrasing it wrong for strong atheists or atheist plus. And the reason I said that was, okay, here's the basic idea. I'm going to ask you, assuming you're a strong atheist or atheist plus now, do you literally believe that God doesn't exist? Do you actually believe he doesn't exist? Probably not. What you're gonna say, or probably think, is more like, oh, I'm not literally believe it. I'm more like, yeah, I'm assuming it. I'm gonna assume, I'm gonna assume you assume. Funny, I guess. But I mean, if it is the case that you literally believe God doesn't exist, please explain how that works, because you believe a negative. How does that work? I mean, all you need to do is reject the claim. You don't need to believe that the claim doesn't exist. That's kind of how it is. You believe that the claim itself doesn't exist. That doesn't really make sense to me. Honestly, it just doesn't make sense. But if it is the case that you agree with me and are just assuming God doesn't exist, then I recommend you say that. Don't say I believe that God doesn't exist. I mean, if you're going to come out as a strong atheist or atheist plus, I recommend highly that you make it clear that you don't believe that doesn't exist. I recommend that you make it clear that you assume God doesn't exist. Because saying it's an assumption makes more sense. Because an assumption is based on evidence, sort of. It depends on what it is. But if there isn't evidence for a God, then of course you're going to assume that God doesn't exist. Then it makes more sense. But if there isn't proof and evidence that God exists, then saying I believe God doesn't exist is kind of stupid, because why would you believe it when there already is evidence that he doesn't exist? You know, it would just make more sense to say I assume God doesn't exist on the evidence. Um, But it is, yeah, this is basically it. This was just a short video on why I think saying God, I believe God doesn't exist is kind of phrasing it wrong for strong atheists or atheist plus. Um, so that's what it. I mean, you can debate me all you want, but if you actually believe God doesn't exist, please explain that shit to me, because that doesn't make fucking sense. Okay. So yeah, that's about it.